This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Hello again. Welcome aboard. President Trump spoke this morning at the 80th Annual UN General Assembly. Heads of state from all over the world have gathered in Lower Manhattan. The commander-in-chief promoted his America First agenda in the first address of his second term to the world body.
1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble. But today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America.
The president took credit in his speech for helping to end 7 wars in just 8 months on the job, but wars still rage in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. The wars between Israel and Hamas and Russia and Ukraine. Several U.S. allies have moved to recognize Palestine as an independent state. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Palestinian statehood makes it harder to end the war in Gaza.
The goal is not to end the war. The goal is to have peace. And obviously, you can't have peace as long as Hamas exists. This is a group dedicated to the destruction of the Jewish state, and that's what they've demonstrated throughout their existence. So it's not about eradicating Hamas as much as it is about peace. You can't have peace as long as Hamas exists.
The Trump administration presented a blueprint of sorts today to our Arab allies at the UN on how to govern Gaza after the war. The Secret Service has broken up a hidden telecom network near the United Nations. That plot could have crippled cell phone service and emergency communications. Matt McCool with the FBI field office in Manhattan says hundreds of servers and over 100,000 SIM cards were recovered.
Encrypted, anonymous, which means that it could theoretically text the entire nation in 12 minutes. So that's problematic. Not to mention all the other things, taking out cell towers, denying services, and criminal organizations and foreign governments using it to run their organizations.
Some of the technology seized is tied to foreign actors and known criminals. There's no evidence, however, that the UN itself was the target. Taken on Tylenol. President Trump wants pregnant women to avoid the popular painkiller. He says the active ingredient in Tylenol, acetaminophen, can cause autism. CBS News medical correspondent Dr. John LaPook says autism rates in this country have skyrocketed the past 25 years.
The CDC says it went from 1 in 150 children to 1 in 31. So that's a dramatic increase. Now, part of that is increased diagnosis, some changing diagnostic criteria. But there may very well be something else that's contributing. And a lot of experts that I've spoken to have said, yeah, it seems like there's something else. We don't know what that something else is.
The Trump administration will issue new guidance soon on the use of Tylenol by pregnant women. It's touting a medication used to treat vitamin deficiency as a possible cure for autism. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary.
Maybe 20 to 50 or 60% of all the kids with autism have a blocked receptor in their brain that's not allowing their folate, that is their vitamin B9, to get in the brain and for those nerve cells to develop normally. And this medication, leucovorin, bypasses that receptor. And there are incredible stories from doctors of seeing dramatic improvements.
Still, Colin Killick with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network has his doubts about this treatment.
It's this kind of quick fix and the false promise that they have. They want there to be one drug that's just going to magically make autism go away. And it's not going to happen because autism isn't a disease.
Health Secretary Robert Kennedy set up a task force to find the root causes of autism, which, by the way, tends to be more common in boys than girls. Jimmy Kimmel returns to his late-night talk show tonight on ABC after serving a nearly week-long suspension for making controversial comments about the Charlie Kirk assassination. station. Some ABC affiliates are refusing to air that show. Sinclair Broadcasting says it will replace Kimmel with local news programming on some 30 stations. ICE agents in California say they will not follow a new law that requires them to take off their masks while making arrests. Governor Gavin Newsom signed that law over the weekend. It takes effect in January. Acting U.S. Attorney for California, Bill Essayli.
We're not going to follow it. The law has no force or effect on federal agencies. The state of California has no jurisdiction to regulate anything that we do in the federal government.
Essayli says there's been a 1,000% increase in attacks on ICE agents the past year, and they should have the right to protect their anonymity. Border czar Tom Homan.
Yeah, they wear a mask because they don't want to be doxxed, and their kids get doxxed, and their spouses get doxxed. But they got identifying information. It shows you're from ICE or FBI or DEA. They're well identified. If we arrest somebody, they'll certainly be identified because they're going to be in the arrest report.
Homan says if Governor Newsom wants to demask anyone, he should start with Antifa, which President Trump has designated as a terrorist organization. Still to come on the Noon Report, Garrity kicks off campaign, Hochul grilled on bail reform, and gun control debate is heating up in Harrisburg.
A very good afternoon to all. I'm Kevin Williams. Humid conditions will prevail this afternoon, giving rise to a couple of scattered showers and thunder showers. Hit and miss. I'll have forecast details up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. Pennsylvania Republican gubernatorial candidate Stacey Garrity kicked off her 2026 campaign last night with a political pep rally in Erie. The 61-year-old state treasurer accuses Governor Shapiro of using the governor's office as a stepping stone to the White House.
The slogan is, help is on the way. I want this office because I want to serve all Pennsylvanians. And every day that I get to serve Pennsylvanians right now is truly a blessing. And I'm not using this office as a stepping stone for another office.
Garrity says Erie is the key to who wins the Keystone State in 2026, and that's why she chose it as her first campaign stop. Pennsylvania, by the way, has never had a female governor before. Police in Penn Yan, New York, have identified the two victims from last Friday's fatal house fire. 12-year-old Ethan Parker and his 78-year-old grandmother, Patricia Stenz, both perished in the blaze. Their bodies were discovered in a first-floor bedroom. Robin Carmel lives next door and tells Wham News.
Most kids would have just ran out and saved themselves. No, he is a brave little boy for going in and finding his grandma to wake her up. And they were in the same room together. And that even melts my heart even more because a brave child who loves their grandmother that much and refuses to leave, he's a hero in my book. And a brave little boy.
Ethan Parker was a sixth grader at the Penn Yan Middle School. Grief counselors are on hand at the school today. The fire started in the bottom of a refrigerator. The boy's mother also lived in that home and was at work at the time of the fire. A missing Rochester girl has been found out of state in Illinois. Security cameras showed the 13-year-old meeting three people near her home and leaving in an SUV. That was September 11th. The girl traveled to the Chicago area and was discovered over this past weekend in an apartment. She was staying with an 18-year-old man and his father. Both of those men were in the country illegally. New York Governor Kathy Hochul remains non-committal on additional changes to the state's controversial bail reform laws.
I'm always willing to look at laws. I'm the governor who've had to go in and undo a lot of things that were good intended, but did not foresee down the road the implications and the collateral damage to communities.
Hochul suggesting a wait-and-see approach to reforming the reforms while touring the town of Tonawanda Police Department yesterday. Niagara County Sheriff Michael Filicetti says bail reform has made our streets unsafe.
They're out victimizing the public over and over again, and we're seeing dangerous criminals out to again victimize.
Hochul has backed changes to discovery laws that would keep criminal cases from being thrown out on technicalities. She also wants judges to have more discretion when it comes to setting bail. State Senator George Borrello.
There is no judge's discretion. This is just another smoke and mirrors game by the other side of the aisle to pretend that they've done something to change this horrible, damaging law.
A bill from State Senator Pam Helming called the PROTECT Act would require judges also consider the risks a suspect would pose to public safety when it comes to granting bail. Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter.
We are the only state that doesn't have a danger standard. New Jersey has a danger standard.
The PROTECT Act gives power to the courts to direct individuals to the appropriate treatment centers when there are signs of mental health issues. 4 more corrections officers in central New York have pled guilty to manslaughter for their roles in the horrific beating death of inmate Robert Brooks last December. It happened at the Marcy Correctional Facility. The victim's son says he's grateful for this accountability.
We all are human beings, so we make mistakes. The biggest part is what you do after the mistake. So the officers who took responsibility for their actions and pled guilty, that's being a man. You did something wrong, you stepped up, you did your crime, and now you're about to do your time.
All 4 who pled guilty will be sentenced in November. 4 other ex-prison guards have rejected plea deals and will go on trial. Pennsylvania politicians are pushing for more gun control in the aftermath of last week's tragic shooting deaths of 3 detectives in York County. They were killed while trying to serve an arrest warrant to a 24-year-old who was hiding in a cornfield when he ambushed those officers.
Everything's an exercise in futility until we're ready to save some lives.
Adam Garber with Ceasefire PA admits it's an uphill battle getting gun control past the finish line in a gun-friendly state like Pennsylvania. Yesterday, the democratically controlled state house approved 4 bills out of committee on a party line vote.
I believe if they get to the governor's desk and become law, we'll save some lives.
Republican Representative Stephanie Borowitz is not a fan of these gun control measures.
Guns aren't the problem. It's people's hearts.
Val Finnell with Gun Owners of America.
We have a Bill of Rights. We don't have a Bill of Needs.
He calls the House legislation unconstitutional and that hearing on gun control virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling means exactly what it says. It's just a showpiece to say they feel like they're doing something when it's doing absolutely nothing.
The gun control measures are expected to go nowhere in the Republican-controlled state Senate. New York wants children to swap scrolling for strolling. The Get Offline, Get Outside challenge encourages kids ages 12 to 18 to complete 50 outdoor activities before they turn 19. And they include such things as roasting marshmallows over a campfire, hiking a trail, visiting a pond, or learning how to cast a fishing rod. The state DEC says this challenge is to inspire families to disconnect from technology and discover again, or for the first time, the great outdoors. A study today out of the UK finds teenage boys are spending more time gaming online than they are learning in school. Sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Montgomery and Gibbs. Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. That kind of sound like a law firm, Bob, but Montgomery and Gibbs practiced their skills on the football field last night, and the Baltimore Ravens probably wish they really were attorneys. David Montgomery rushed for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 67 yards and 2 more scores, as Detroit's ground game ate up the vaunted Ravens defense. Jared Goff passed for 202 yards and a touchdown as well. The Lions went into Baltimore and beat the Ravens 38-30. There were only 3 games played in Major League Baseball last night, but one of those games was a biggie. The San Diego Padres are headed back to the playoffs for the 4th time in 6 seasons, as they got a walk-off victory over the Milwaukee Brewers 5-4 in 11 innings. Freddie Fermin picked up in a trade at the deadline, singled in the winning run with 1 out in the 11th inning. Hey, what a way to get welcome to the ball club. The Padres now move to within 2.5 games of the Dodgers for the NL West lead, and also within 2.5 games of the Cubs for the first place in the wild card race. In San Francisco, the Cardinals scored 4 runs in the 5th inning and held on to beat the Giants 6-5. Ivan Herrera hit a 2-run home run to help St. Louis to the win. Both the Cards and the Giants are 3.5 back of the final wild card spot. And in Atlanta, 2 teams that are going nowhere faced off, and the Braves bashed the Nationals 11-5. Ronald Acuna Jr. went deep while Michael Harris drove in 3. Atlanta won their 9th game in a row, but it's too little, too late. The Braves will just have to wait until next season. That is a look at sports.
All right, Randy, thank you. Still to come on the Noon Report, Trump speaks at the UN, Fat Bear Week, and promoting life through art.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Well, Sunday's memorial service for Charlie Kirk might have been the largest evangelistic event in human history. Not every speaker at the event was in tune with the gospel, of course, but those who were stated it with clarity and boldness. The tens of thousands of people who attended live, along with the millions who watched online, heard Chris Tomlin praise the name above all names, and Pastor Rob McCoy offer an invitation to accept Christ as Savior. And that was just in the first half hour. Before it was all over, Vice President J.D. Vance talked publicly about his faith, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio beautifully summarized the entire Christian message in just under 2 minutes. After describing the final moments of Kirk's life, apologist and Kirk mentor Frank Turek stated bluntly, and I quote, "Charlie's not in heaven because he sacrificed his life for Jesus. He's in heaven because Jesus sacrificed his life for Charlie." And of course, most powerfully, Erica Kirk, speaking of the man who killed her husband, said this, quote, "On the cross, our Savior said, 'Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.' That young man, I forgive him because it's what Christ did and what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love and always love," end quote. Look, if this murderer hoped to silence Kirk's growing influence, he only amplified it further. What Joseph said to his brothers seems to apply here as well. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what's now being done, the saving of many lives. Or, as John said in the prologue to his gospel, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. At the memorial service, hundreds of people indicated that they had accepted the invitation to follow Jesus Christ. Ever since Kirk's death, more and more people are finding their way to church, many for the first time. And in a widely shared and discussed video, a man who had never owned a suit before talks of being inspired by Charlie to be a better husband and father, and then to return to church. Proudly modeling the new suit that his wife bought him, he says, "I'm going to try, y'all." Those of us who watched Chuck Colson collapse on stage as he gave his final speech experienced it as a kind of calling. Chuck, many said at the time, went out with his boots on. That same thing's now being said of Charlie Kirk. And on a much larger scale, many are perceiving this moment as a kind of calling as well, to be more engaged in their churches and communities, to be bold about sharing their faith, to take a stand for truth, to be a better husband and father. And that's great, because in every cultural moment, God is calling his people to be agents of renewal. So we need to wrestle with what that means today for us. Being an agent of renewal will include advancing what's good, opposing what's evil, working to restore what's broken, offering what's most needed but missing. Living faithfully as his people in this moment will involve both condemning the evil of murder and explaining the beauty of offering forgiveness to a murderer. It will mean speaking the truth at great cost, while recognizing that the deceivers and the deceived are both made in the image of God. It will mean celebrating that God is bringing sinners to repentance, even if we're unsure about how it's happening. It will mean having the courage to speak the truth, as well as the humility to learn truth. It'll mean loving our neighbors and loving our enemies, even if, as G.K. Chesterton quipped, they're the same people. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
Thank you very much, John. We head outside next with the always reliable and super dependable Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life weather forecast. The call for this afternoon, mostly cloudy and humid. Watch for shower and thunderstorm. High temperatures 70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy and evening showers. Some areas of fog again overnight, low around 60. Tomorrow, some early fog, otherwise clouds, sun, chance for a shower, high in the 70s. Numerous showers and a few rumbles tomorrow night into Thursday. The high Thursday in the 70s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price, and here's what's happening Tuesday, the 23rd of September. President Trump promoted his America First agenda today at the 80th Annual UN General Assembly in Lower Manhattan. He took a wrecking ball to the previous administration for its record on foreign policy.
6 years have passed since I last stood in this grand hall and addressed a world that was prosperous and at peace in my first term. Since that day, the guns of war have shattered the peace I forged on two continents. An era of calm and stability gave way to one of the great crises of our time. And here in the United States, 4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the president deserves a lot of credit for helping to end 7 wars in just 8 months on the job. Rubio was grilled by NBC's Craig Melvin on the Today Show this morning for not ending the war in Ukraine.
That's not up to us to end the war. The Russians have to stop the war.
Well, yes,
and the Ukrainians have to agree to a peace deal. What the president expressed is that it would be a priority of his. And it has been. I don't think anyone could argue that it hasn't been a priority.
Yes, but again, repeatedly on the campaign trail, he said he would end it on day one. We're 246 days into the administration.
Well, I think, which is an indication that he repeatedly said that it would make it a priority. He certainly has done more than Biden ever did to end the war. Biden didn't even have a plan for the war.
America's top ambassador also expressing opposition to the recognition of an independent Palestinian state in the Middle East. Rubio says all that does is reward Hamas and give legitimacy to a terrorist organization while making it harder to wind down the war in Gaza. The Secret Service has uncovered a massive network of SIM cards near the UN that had the capability of disabling cell phone towers and 911 service all across New York City. This trove of technology was also capable of bringing telecommunications to a halt.
Organized crime, known cartels, and terrorist groups were using this network to run their communications anonymously and encrypted.
Matt McCool with the FBI field office in Manhattan. The SIM cards and servers are found in safe houses within a half hour of the United Nations. It's not believed, however, that the UN was the target. Jimmy Kimmel is set to return to late-night television tonight after Disney ended his suspension. His removal from the air touched off a free speech debate. The liberal talk show host was benched last week after suggesting that Charlie Kirk's killer was a MAGA Republican. Students honoring Charlie Kirk gathered last night at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis for Turning Point USA's first event since the death of the conservative icon. Kirk was scheduled to speak at that event before he was shot and killed on September 10th in Utah. Over 1,500 students filled the Northrop Auditorium for that sold-out event. The Food and Drug Administration is recommending doctors advise pregnant women not to take Tylenol due to White House claims that it can increase the risk of autism in children. Dr. Steve Fleischman with the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists.
So obviously people are scared. You should not, under any circumstances, avoid taking acetaminophen if you have a fever early in pregnancy.
The Trump administration is touting a medication used to treat vitamin B deficiency as a possible cure for autism. It's called Leucovorin. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy has appointed a task force to look into the root causes of the neurodevelopmental disorder. A third of all Americans lack any kind of emergency savings fund. A new survey from the retirement planner Empower shows 3 in 10 of us cannot afford an unexpected expense that totals more than $400. That same poll found the average emergency savings account in this country is just $500. 63% of respondents say the rising cost of living has made it more difficult to build and maintain a savings account. You're listening to the Noon Report, a Tuesday edition on Family Life.
putting the pro-life message front and center. Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster, and this week's guest is Angelique Clark, founder of Life Dress, promoting the pro-life cause with clothing art that makes that message hard to miss.
Life Dress began when I was in college, and I started the organization out of a love for the preborn and for creating artwork. So I had been an activist since I was in high school. I started a pro-life club at my high school in Las Vegas, and I had to sue my school to get it started. So ever since then, I just had this passion for the pro-life mission and for the preborn and their mothers. And Life Dress started out of the necessity for spreading the message, and I wanted to use art and what we wear every day to start those important conversations.
What are some of the messages that you have for people to display to show folks how they feel?
I do a wide variety of different types of designs. Some designs are bold, just protect preborn people. I have a whole line called Protect Preborn People. And I also do things like Love Life. At one point, when the abortion pill started becoming extremely available across the world, I created a dress that said, "Abortion pills kill." And so the messages are really vary in who they're trying to reach. So whether it's a mother who is facing unplanned pregnancy or someone who just wants to have a conversation about the ethics of abortion. So it really reaches all the different audiences.
Mm-hmm. And you do have a nationwide audience, but based in Sin City, Las Vegas. How was your message received on the home front?
You know, I've had some great conversations here in Las Vegas, actually. I do man-on-the-street videos on the Las Vegas Boulevard with showgirls walking by and everything. And I've had some great conversations with people when I've asked them, do you want to protect the most vulnerable human life? And I've had people engage with me and hear things that they hadn't heard before about when the heartbeat starts, or, you know, we have all of our unique DNA at the moment of conception. And I've changed some minds on the strip. So, you know, there is a lot of sin here, but there is a lot of grace. You know, when sin abounds, grace abounds more. So it's a great place to advocate for the preborn.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Paul hung out in Rome a lot, and I'm sure he saw some of the same situations. You address on your website, and I imagine through some of your products too, some of the big questions that always come up on this topic. When is that fetus a human? When does life begin? The morality or immorality of abortion. You don't shy away from the tough questions.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, those are the ones that people ask all the time, and we have to have an answer.
In these times, and we've certainly seen this just in the last couple of weeks, very divided nation on this topic and many others. In the time that you've been operating Life Dress, have you seen things just get more divided? That certainly is how it kind of feels.
Yes, I mean, I've definitely experienced the division since the moment I started in my activism. Like I said, I had to file an entire lawsuit against the fifth largest school district in the United States in order to even get to speak on my public school campus about abortion. So even back then, when I was in a sophomore in high school, I had people who wanted to silence me and tell me that I wasn't allowed to reach young girls on the issue of abortion because I was supposedly, you know, too young, even though girls my age were getting abortions, that it's just too controversial, and that pro-choice people wouldn't have a voice. When, you know, we have freedom of speech in the United States, and I knew I had a right to start that group, and therefore I did win that lawsuit 3 days after it was filed. But during all of that, I had a lot of students and teachers and just the community, because the story blew up nationally, who wanted to shut me down. And people would even say horrible things, you know, like I shouldn't live because of my views, and I hope something bad happens to you because of your views. So this is something that I've personally seen throughout my years as an activist, having conversations with people yelling at me, flipping me off, cussing me out, pushing me, ripping my signs. I kind of see that it might be getting worse as we start dehumanizing people more and more and expand our view of when abortion should be available. We also expand our view of how invaluable people see life. And the opposite of our dignity.
Frightening at times, the way things seem to be trending. So you're headed out to our area soon to speak at the Pregnancy Resource Center. What brought that to appearance about?
I just had an amazing opportunity. So the PRCs of the Valley reached out to me and asked me to speak. And so I'm very honored to have an opportunity to share LifeDress and my testimony with everyone in New York, and also to be in support of the mission that they have there to help pregnant mothers facing unplanned pregnancy. And then I'm also going to be hosting a workshop for students to paint a LifeDress apparel item, and then the proceeds of that will be going back to the pregnancy centers.
That's Angelique Clark, founder of LifeDress, promoting the pro-life cause with clothing that carries the message loud and clear for all to see. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
Thank you, Mark Webster. Hometown Heroes comes your way every Tuesday during the Noon Report or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or our website, familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A weak cool front pressing into fairly warm and humid and unstable air will mean some unsettled weather this afternoon into this evening. A couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms will roam the area. More numerous shower and thunderstorm activity is expected with the next front coming in. That'll be tomorrow night and Thursday. All in all, some beneficial rain for this very parched area. The call for this afternoon, mostly cloudy and humid. Watch for shower and thunderstorms. High temperatures 70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy and evening showers. Some areas of fog again overnight, low around 60. Tomorrow, some early fog, otherwise clouds, some sun, chance for a shower, high in the 70s. Numerous showers and a few rumbles tomorrow night into Thursday. The high Thursday in the 70s.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. And finally at noon, survival of the fattest. It's Fat Bear Week in Alaska. The annual event crowns the chunkiest brown bear in Alaska's Katmai National Park through a bracket-style competition. Fat Bear Week relies on the public's vote to determine which brown bear in that park puts on the most weight ahead of the winter hibernation season, and the voting began today. More than 1 million votes were cast last year when a bear named Grazer won the competition. Bears that are about to go into hibernation can pack on up to 700 pounds. Bad for humans, good for bears. You can go to explore.org/fatbearweek to learn more. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, September 23rd. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.